We have two really big matchups made for UFC 294 card in the wake of the injuries from Charles Oliveira and Paulo Costa, where they had to pull out. I was a little bit worried for the Khamzat fight because there was like names like the Lidze, Vittori floating around. I didn't think Vittori's going to be able to make weight, but it was going to be like a much less interesting fight rather than what we had with the Paulo Costa fight. And same thing with Charles Oliveira. I didn't know who they were going to have pull in, but man, they got two really big names to come in to make these fights happen. So I'm actually really happy that this happened. I think it was all within 24 hours as well. Only in the UFC will you see something like that. Kamaru Usman versus Khamzat Chimaev is now the fight made. It's the same thing with the main event. We have Volkanovski versus Makhachev 2 as the main event, which is an incredible fight to be making on 11 days notice. Like, absolutely insane. The fact that they're able to get an active champion in the featherweight division. We know Volkanovski's game, but just in general, seeing your champion come in on 11 days notice to fight another champion is actually really great to see. Two of the most active champions that we have had within the last couple of years, Kamaru Usman and Volkanovski. Really cool to see them come in and save this card a little bit. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a prediction, a preview of these fights. Next week, I'll probably be giving a super in-depth prediction because these fights are happening a week from Saturday. So it's going to be a very insane week next week in Abu Dhabi. So I'm going to give you my prediction here first for Khamzat Chimaev versus Kamaru Usman. I am leaning pretty heavily Khamzat Chimaev in this fight. I think he's had a couple, when was his last fight? It was in September of last year. So he's had well over a year to build into the middleweight division. He's known he's going to be at middleweight, especially after that Nate Diaz fight, or I guess Kevin Holland fight that they ended up switching around because he missed the weight by quite a big margin there. He has been building into that middleweight division. If you've seen his Instagram stories, if you've been following him since then, he has been looking bigger. And I think Kamaru Usman taking this fight on 11 days notice. And now Kamaru Usman is no like small welterweight. He's a very big dude, but I don't think he's going to be cutting as much weight to get to middleweight as Khamzat Chimaev is. And I think that's going to really be a big factor in this match. I'm going to be completely honest. I think Khamzat Chimaev will have the wrestling advantage. We know Kamaru Usman, I think he's 36 years of age, has looked a little bit rough recently, especially against Leon Edwards on the feet. Now, Khamzat Chimaev is not Leon Edwards on the feet, let's be real, because Leon Edwards is very good on the feet, really good kicks. I mean, just stand-up in general, probably would have, from a technical aspect, better than Kamaru Usman. Kamaru Usman has a lot of power, but from a technical aspect, a lot better than Kamaru Usman. But in the wrestling here, Leon Edwards was able to take down Kamaru Usman at welterweight. I think Khamzat Chimaev can definitely take down Kamaru Usman here, and I think it will be a little bit of a struggle early on. If Khamzat Chimaev tries to ragdoll him to the ground, I think it will definitely be a struggle because Kamaru Usman is still really good. He still really has a really good takedown defense. It's not like Bilal Muhammad takedown defense, but I think Kamaru Usman still does kind of have that. But again, I don't think he's going to go scramble for scramble with Khamzat Chimaev in this one. Chimaev is just too strong. I can just see him possibly even KOing him on the feet for Khamzat Chimaev here, because what kind of durability does Kamaru Usman have? He did take a little bit of damage in that last Leon Edwards fight. He did get rocked a couple times with a couple knees when he was coming in, so he is still getting rocked. Of course, he got knocked out cold about a year ago, so you do kind of question the durability of Usman at this point. You know his knees are kind of going. There's a rumor that he had to walk backwards down the stairs at the PI because his knees were not working as well, so kind of have to wonder what the state of Kamaru Usman as a durable fighter at this point in his career will look like against a guy in Khamzat Chimaev who's very strong, very powerful. Like we've seen him at middleweight, very powerful dude. Same kind of guy at welterweight, just stronger, basically what it is, and with a lot more power, if not the similar power. So I think Khamzat Chimaev does beat him here. I will say late first round, maybe second round finish. It is kind of tricky to see whether he'll get a submission. I can actually see him getting a TKO KO out of anything. Maybe he just pins him on the ground and just pounds him out, or he actually just knocks down Kamaru Usman and finishes him up on the ground just because of the wrestling threat that I think will definitely be an issue for Kamaru. And now it will kind of be interesting to see how the power does translate to middleweight for Kamaru Usman. I think that'll be a very interesting aspect to this fight because we know Khamzat Chimaev doesn't really move his head too much, especially after that Gilbert Burns fight. I think this one will definitely be pretty interesting. But I think Khamzat Chimaev goes out there, shoots in for a takedown over a guy who's normally at welterweight, isn't really building for that middleweight division, and Kamaru Usman. I think he drops him and then pounds away on him by like TKO. Maybe we get like an arm triangle or something like that, where Khamzat Chimaev just uses his strength and his weight just to completely out grapple Kamaru Usman. So I'm seeing like an early finish, if not a second round finish. By I mean like early finish, like late first round, early second round finish for Khamzat Chimaev here. It'll be very interesting to see what happens in this matchup, but I am really excited about it. So let's move on to the next matchup. We have Islam Makhachev versus Alexander Volkanovski 2. I don't like this matchup for Volkanovski because it is on short notice. I kind of is a little bit of annoying. Now, I do like that he is coming in a short notice and saving this fight. But man, I feel like you could really build to this fight on a card, in all honesty. I feel like if Alexander Volkanovski had a big camp completely dedicated to Islam Makhachev for this fight, I think it would have been like another great fight like that first one. But now you have to start questioning, like, is Volkanovski really ready for this? I know Volkanovski's game. He's an absolute like warrior and octane. Like we saw that in their first fight. A lot of people were doubting Volkanovski. I was kind of doing that too. I was like, I'm going to keep my expectations low and see what Volkanovski can do in this matchup. And he definitely exceeded it. A lot of people thought he won. Quite a bit of people thought Islam won. So it was pretty split on quite a few people. But I am really excited about this matchup. I just think it's going to be a little bit more one-sided in this one. I don't know what Volkanovski is going to be looking like on short notice. It is going to be a crazy weight cut for him because it is moving up to another division, so it is nice to see him on short notice. I don't know how many people would have been able to cut the amount of weight that a normal lightweight would be able to cut weight on 11 days notice, so Volkanovski's kind of the perfect guy. I'm sure he's getting paid really well, but there is that a little bit of that concern because he's kind of, in my opinion, probably preparing for Taporia, maybe not even in camp. Maybe he's just ready all around all year. So he is a champ. So I kind of assume that he's kind of ready, in shape, whatever. But I think they were preparing for the Taporia fight. So I'm kind of interested to see what happens in this matchup. I think it is going to be a little bit more one-sided for Islam. I don't want to say there's a finish, but I'm a little bit undecided on how I see Islam winning this fight. I think it could go to a decision. He could get a finish because Volkanovski isn't as prepared for a second fight as Islam is. I know Islam is getting this on short notice as well, but he's going through a whole camp for a 5-round fight, and Alexander Volkanovski is going up a weight division, so you got to look at like some of the cardiovascular stuff, see if he's going to be able to have a 5-round fight with a guy in Islam Makhachev who's going to work him in the wrestling. So it's going to be a really interesting matchup. Of course, it is a very different matchup than what a Charles Oliveira would be, because Charles Oliveira is much bigger than Alexander Volkanovski. Takedowns are going to be rough, but Alexander Volkanovski dedicated a whole camp to the wrestling of Islam Makhachev, so maybe he's going to be working off of that for this fight. I don't know. I do see Islam Makhachev winning this fight again. I do kind of wish we had an open build-up for the card, but I am happy at the end of the day that he is coming in to save this fight. So it is kind of like a win. I don't know. I don't know what you would even call it. Like, it's a good thing and a bad thing at the same time, but I am really looking forward to this fight. This fight's going to be crazy. It kind of just came out of nowhere. I don't think like my brain's kind of gotten used to the fact that these fights are happening. So I think as the fight week happens, I'm going to be way more excited for it, but these fights are absolutely crazy. So let me know who you guys think will win in these fights down below in the comments, and I'll see you guys next time.